Not actually going to put on a tie.
Does that look all right?
Well, welcome everybody to the Iowa Business Council's Iowa BizCast. This is our first inaugural Iowa BizCast Productions. We're so pleased to welcome David Ottavianelli from John Deere with us today. Our goal with this webcast is to bring together business leaders, thought leaders, and share all the great things that Iowa businesses are doing for our state. And what better way to kick this off than to bring in an expert, David O, to talk about some of the great workforce development initiatives that John Deere is engaging in, all of the wonderful things that you're doing to attract military veterans into our state, into our communities. And so we're just very thrilled to have you here, David. Not only are you an expert, you're a 24-year veteran of John Deere. You're also a U.S. Army veteran in the Army Rangers, and most importantly, a New England Patriots fan. And so we're happy to have that noted as well. David, let's just start off. Let's start by introducing yourself. What would you like to share with the audience here today?
Hey, Joe, it's an honor. Thank you for inviting me here to talk with a number of folks on this call and the Iowa Business Council. I thank you for your efforts and everything that you do to help grow businesses in the state of Iowa. Once again, Joe, thanks for the introduction. I'm the Director of Workforce and Community Development Programs at John Deere. We're super excited to share some of these best practices and learnings that we have learned that I think can help other businesses in attracting talent.
That's great. So David, we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about two key initiatives, the first of which will be SkillBridge, talking about military veterans. But at the end, I do want to come back to registered apprenticeships and talk about all the great things that Deere has done and led on trying to attract a new generation into our talent pipeline. But maybe to start with, I know that you guys undertook a study on how you guys started to think about SkillBridge military veterans. I know SkillBridge veterans were one component of that study, but how did we get here? What did this study find for you all?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. You're right. Back in early 2019, our leadership, just like a lot of folks on this call, our leadership would go to all our factory locations scattered throughout the state, and they heard two common themes. One, the factories were having trouble getting enough people, and two, there weren't enough parts coming from our supply base, which meant they didn't get enough people either to be building those parts. So the CEO, staff, and leaders asked, hey, how do we, one, identify the issue? And more importantly, what actions can we take to help prevent, or help improve this situation when it comes to attracting people, mainly into our manufacturing sector, just not alone at Deere, right? We felt it was important to have an all-inclusive approach to this, to include our supply base, that we can have a sustainable pipeline of manufacturing. So, and it led to really three main action items. And we knew that we had to do things differently than in the past. Honestly, in the past, we were able to just put a posting up there. John Deere has openings. We'd get a number of applicants, and we were able to choose from that. And we knew things were changing. And this was pre-COVID. And all of these troubles were amplified by COVID, of course, and made it even more difficult. So pre-COVID, and it led to three main action items that we knew we had to embark on to do something different in addition to our normal hiring practices. Our greatest opportunity, the study helped us gain this knowledge because we did an analysis of the local area. But our greatest opportunity was, how do we influence high school students and graduates and community college students who have not gone on to four-year degrees to become interested in and aware of manufacturing opportunities. That was our number one initiative, and that led to an awareness campaign, and then also what we talked about, high school registered apprenticeship program. The second area that we felt we could help improve our hiring processes and our talent pool was doing an outreach to military members as they transition out of the military, in particular with a program called SkillBridge. And our third and final initiative, which did get delayed during COVID, was working with folks coming out of incarceration and programs to get them the skills to re-enter society. So that's the basis, Joe, of the findings in that study that led to these main action items.
Yeah, that's a great rundown. 3 key points, 3 great talent areas that companies of all sizes should be taking advantage of, particularly in Iowa as we struggle not only with finding an adequate workforce to take the jobs that we have available, but just bringing in talent to our state from outside of the state. So we have to look at some of those areas that might be a little bit non-traditional, if you will, in some of those areas. So David, let's jump into SkillBridge. What is this program? How has Deere used it? Take us through the basics of it. I know it's relatively new and only so far 2 Iowa Business Council companies have taken advantage of it. John Deere, obviously, with you guys, and then Collins Aerospace based out of Cedar Rapids. So tell us about SkillBridge. What's that all about?
Yeah, Joe, was super excited, especially being an Army veteran like myself, to play a key role in helping service members transition out of active duty. So the SkillBridge program is a DoD, Department of Defense authorized program that allows a service member to conduct an internship at a business at no cost to that business and with no obligation of a full-time role up to 6 months prior to their final end of service date. This is an incredible program that we feel can help attract more Iowans either returning out of service back to come to our state, or attracting folks from all over the world to our state to help overcome that work and the worker shortage that we talked about.
That's fantastic. So free program, bringing in military veterans in their last 6 months. What an opportunity to bring in talent, transferable skills. I mean, just an amazing opportunity. How has John Deere begun to use this program to the fullest? I think you're about 1.5 years into it. Where have you seen success?
Yeah, so we started this program, Joe, in late to mid 2020. So
Okay.
Initially, we were able to gain and establish a memorandum of understanding or an agreement with the DoD, and we're able to provide our own SkillBridge internship opportunities to transition service members, not only at Deere locations, but also our dealerships scattered throughout the country. Since 2020, we have hosted over 500 transition service members or military veterans. So in our program, we have a very simple process that a service member can learn more by contacting, and one of our veterans from our military outreach team will have a conversation with them. Sometimes we may not be dealing with transition service members, but veterans. And about approximately half of the folks come from that veteran side of things. So they would go in to apply for full-time roles. We'd help them with that, et cetera, with that. When it comes to the SkillBridge, there's 3 main questions that we ask service members to help craft their path in doing this. 1, what is their timing? When are they looking to get out? Have they started talking to their command about SkillBridge approval? And then what are the key dates as part of their transition? The second question is, what type of work are they looking to do? And that may be different from their MOS or their skills that they're trained in the military, or it could be a continuation of that. And then the third important question is about what location are they looking to go to? And that becomes critical, right? They may be returning home, or they may not even hear of Iowa. Or, hey, I heard about Iowa, I fly over it, how do I learn more? And we talk about all the great things that we can provide from our state and help attract more folks to doing this. So of those total numbers, about 50% go down a skill bridge path that we've hosted in our company. And about 60% go to our dealerships, which are scattered across the country. And location plays a key role in this.
So you get them in, they're becoming an intern, they work through, they've got their questions answered. They have, hopefully at the end of this, and I know you and your team do a great job of this, they have a successful outcome. They have a successful internship there at John Deere. You mentioned this at the end of your last answer about all the great things that Iowa is doing to be attractive. How do you convert that intern into a full-time position? How do you convert that person from internship into employment so that they then have the opportunity to pursue a career at John Deere? And hopefully, I know you're a global company, but hopefully here in our state.
Yeah, and that's the intent, Joe. And we're proud to say that over 90% of our SkillBridge interns have an opportunity immediately post-internship, not necessarily at Deere, but it could be in the local community. And attracting them is an important part of this, right? So this SkillBridge internship, when I talk with transition service members, it allows them to do two main things. One, gain the experience, the industry experience, and the technical knowledge of executing those types of roles, which could be entirely different than the military. It helps them transition out of a military environment into a business environment, which is different in many different ways, right? And looking at it, and it helps grow that network, right? So this is where this goes beyond the individual filling that role, but it helps them gain a network that may be entirely different, that can help them with their transition. And the community plays a key role in that. The company, our veterans within our military employee resource group plays a key role in this, and certain mentors helping those individuals do that. It's been an honor, right, to be part of this process and to see those successes come through all this. Because like I said earlier, the roles, the full-time roles are not guaranteed. And those candidates have to earn that. But with that network, with that experience and learning, they become top candidates, they apply, and they're awarded those full-time roles, which equals a great transition for them out of the military and into our communities.
You know, you mentioned the role of mentors within an organization, making sure that in this case, that military intern through SkillBridge feels welcomed, feels included, helps them navigate through that. That was one of the resounding takeaways of our Iowa Business Council's business education symposium earlier this spring, talking about the roles of employment resource groups, but specifically mentors, making sure that people feel connected to the community, to the corporate culture. Can you just explain a little bit more? Number one, how has John Deere established credible mentor networks within your organization? And two, why is that important? Why does somebody need a mentor in the business world coming into this situation?
Joe, I'll answer the last question first. That mentor is a critical aspect of this transition. We underestimate how difficult this transition is for our service members. And having somebody that they can talk to that can use the same terminology that's outside of their command is really beneficial for them to help learn. This could be some veterans could be in as low as 4 years, 3 years. Some could be as long as 28, 30 years. And changing that over and coming into a different lifestyle and different aspects of the business compared to the military is extremely difficult. And those mentors can play a critical role in helping those service members understand what the key elements are to do that. And also what is it going to take to be successful in those roles. With that comes that network. Right. And you can build that network and also help understand what are the different roles available, et cetera, with this. And I would emphasize for the businesses that are out there, this is not only important internally, but externally within your community. And I'll give a huge kudos and a shout out to the Quad City Veterans Network. Is a great example. Simple monthly meeting of veterans who are looking for work, veterans and associated friendly companies that are looking to hire veterans, and people that just want to hang out, come together once a month, and that networking goes a long way in looking at making those connections and matches.
That's huge. You know, that the local partnerships are so important to this work. Chambers of commerce all across the state just do a phenomenal job at providing that community engagement. So David, maybe to switch gears a little bit in the SkillBridge conversation, I've heard you talk in the past on how SkillBridge is a 3-win situation, bringing in all sorts of different people, organizations, how it benefits everybody. Could you speak a little bit? I think a lot of people are familiar with win-win scenarios or win-win negotiations. What do you mean by win-win-win? 3 wins?
Yeah, there's 3 wins, Joe, in this. First and foremost, which is our focus, it helps those service members transition, right? We know this can be a difficult transition. It plays a critical role. And it's so satisfying to see the help and the impact that it makes on them, because they just do not know what are the key next steps to do. The second is, of course, internally, it helps us gain great talent. These military service members come with extremely high technical experience. And then, of course, that's coupled with essential leadership skills and leading teams, continually improving, right? Change agents that they can bring and what they've done in the military and bring that over. And we also learn a lot as a company in an industry in doing this. And then the third and final, Joe, and you know this, we do not have enough people in the state of Iowa to do the work that needs to be done. It helps our local communities grow.
It's a key point. We talk about it all the time. The Iowa Business Council talking about the need to grow our population. We're inhibited in some ways in our ability to attract and retain talent. We're still about 23,000 people below our labor force today than where we were September or the fall of 2019 before the pandemic hit. So taking advantage of these opportunities to bring people in, to cultivate them within our existing frameworks, our communities are so important. So David, John Deere clearly poster child for setting up successful initiatives such as this. Can you explain a little bit about the process? You did that at the beginning, but look, John Deere, global Fortune 50 company. Do you have to be a big company to do this? Can companies of all sizes go for this? What's been your process? What are some of the things you've learned? Maybe what would be the number one thing you'd recommend companies think about as they begin this initiative?
Yeah, Joe, this is a great question, because there are many different paths that companies can get involved in this process. One, you can use a third-party provider to help you with this. So for instance, there's a number of different companies that you can partner with that helps transition and service members make the connection to do a SkillBridge internship, a veteran, etc. with that. That is one option. A company like that would be Hire Our Heroes, as an organization that works on a national level, etc. with that. I'm super excited to announce that we are about to, and working on, so not confirmed yet, but working on having the state of Iowa Workforce Development, potentially be a third-party provider for SkillBridge into our state. And then that will allow businesses to potentially host SkillBridge interns through a third party, in that case being the state of Iowa. We feel that's a critical element of that. And once again, this is a community-based project that allows all businesses to participate in this. The more business participants and options that we have for transition service members would be able to equal more opportunities to connect with those transition service members. Or a party like Deere did, you could actually request to have your own internal memorandum of understanding through the DoD SkillBridge website.
Having that nonprofit, that third party sponsor seems like one of the better ways to go. Perhaps not all companies have the resources or capabilities. So I know you and us and others are working with IWD to make sure that we can get the state to be that third party vendor, if you will, and that will open up a lot of opportunities. So more to come on that. That's great. So David, let's switch gears and we've talked a lot about the companies in this. Obviously, it's the veteran, focusing in on the veteran. What advice, as a veteran yourself, what advice would you give a veteran or a military personnel individual that's thinking about leaving the military? What advice would you give them as their next step entering the civilian career? And more importantly, what would you recommend that they think about on why Iowa is such a great place to live, work, and raise a family?
Yeah, Joe, the advice I would give, it was a long time ago that I transitioned out, but working with service members who transition out recently, here's what we heard, right? So start early and communicate often, talk to your command, investigate the skill bridge process with your transition office, typically about a year out. So if you are leaving a year from now and you could start your skill bridge up to 6 months, now's the time to start having those conversations and reach out to one of these organizations or third-party elements and start that planning process. The earlier you do that, will give you more options to choose from. And remember those 3 questions. What's your dates? What type of work you looking to do? And what location are you looking at? And then reach out to those organizations and see if there's a connection to do that. And then once you, there's a number of different courses, of course, during your transition TAP classes and organizations that you can help leverage to prepare you for that, and different courses that you can take. Another element too that I would also advocate for is either going to school, either at a community college or one of our great partners in the state, using your GI Bill to help further your education as a transition element of that. We see that often. Approximately 53% of veterans will use that GI Bill for further education. And that could be another great connection through those veteran career services to get in contact with companies that are looking for great talent.
That's great.
So start early, Joe.
Yeah, start early. Yeah, like anything, start early. Great information. Let's switch gears. I mentioned at the beginning, we wanted to hit registered apprenticeships at the high school level. For those of you who may not know, the Iowa Business Council is a strong supporter of all work-based learning initiatives, but registered apprenticeships in particular is one of our stated goals. Trying to make sure that all 21 of our member companies are providing not only work-based learning opportunities, but specifically registered apprenticeship opportunities. There's great programs out there. We like registered apprenticeship at the high school level because there's a system involved. There's a specific cadence that goes to it, stackable credentials moving through the process. And with the passage this year of the Iowa Registered Apprenticeship Act, we'll be able to tailor the needs of Iowa companies specific to Iowa registered apprentices, as opposed to going through the Department of Labor at the federal level. Opens up all new possibilities and opportunities for Iowa employees. So David, as we think about registered apprenticeships, how have you been able to use registered apprentices at John Deere? Again, I said this before, you guys are the poster child for SkillBridge. You're also the poster child for getting in great registered apprentices as well. So talk to us a little bit about how you've developed a sustainable model for registered high school apprentices, and then what advice would you give to companies to set that up?
Yeah, Joe. So back in that 2019 time period, we also had the privilege of having a model. That model was set up by the Pella School District with the Governor's STEM Council, right, to look at how do we set up these programs. So John Deere and a couple of local school districts went and visited, and we came back from that visit in April of 2019 and said, I think we can do this. You know what I mean? It really makes sense. Though, like you said, the Department of Labor Registered Apprenticeship Program adds structure and sustainability to both sides of this equation, from the student perspective and the school districts, and also from the businesses. So we did kick that off with a pilot program in 2019. And it started with 9 welders, apprentices from 2 school districts with 4 business companies, right, in doing this. 6 of those students were at Deere. And Joe, we learned so much from that. And we've had excellent partners along with our school districts, our chambers of commerces, to help grow these networks and these connections. And we're excited to see these programs grow year over year. For instance, at Deere, we started with 6. We grew that. Last year, we had 50. This year, we're targeting about 80 different students and adding different occupations to do this. The key element here, Joe, today is students do not think they can do these types of roles directly out of school. So our community outreach teams talks with them at a younger age, and then also shows them a structured path. By the time they graduate, they'll have the credentials and the experience to become full-time employees and get paid while doing that.
Yeah, such a great program, you know, and it's also great. Obviously, you got John Deere here, tip of the spear, if you will, in organizing this. But it's been great to see the outreach from the state of Iowa really taking an interest in this. And there's literally individuals at IWD that are engaging with school districts across the state. In some cases, cold calling school districts to match up companies with those K through 12 institutions to try to figure out where we can create a partnership. Such an unbelievable effort, I think, at the state level to make sure that these opportunities exist for our young people. And as you say, I mean, that's a way that you can supplement your talent pipeline. So you've been doing this for a while. Talk about the rate of success as individuals have matriculated through that registered apprenticeship pipeline. What's the next step for them post their apprenticeship? Where could they go in Deere, and what opportunities are afforded to them?
So Joe, it depends upon the type of role. So for instance, a welder and a CNC machinist, upon graduation, turning 18, they can go right into those full-time roles. Incredible opportunities. They have the skills, they have the credentials, they have the experience, they have the technical experience and the behavioral experience on some of the key elements that it's going to take to become a great employee. What's even more exciting is those students can actually start investing in their 401k, down to their while in the apprentice program, right? So you think about all that, it just sets them up for success so early into great paying roles and potential starts of careers. If you're an IT software engineer, you could go on to your next phase of training, but once again, you have a leg up on the experience side, because those students, and I get to see them in our company when they come in, you see them develop behaviorally and you see them develop technically, working on projects. They're able to take that education, go on to a college, and continue to grow in their career as a part-time student in that case. So once again, it's just an acceleration of learning those skills through those work-based learning opportunities. And for companies, it gives you the ability to connect with a candidate pool that you may not even be considering today.
Yeah, and we know just at looking at the data for all registered apprentices that go through this program, assuming you complete your registered apprenticeship program, it's not more than a 90% retention rate for those companies with those individuals. So just clearly a sustainable model to fill your talent pipeline. You mentioned the high school students being the chief ambassadors, if you will, to their friends in high school to get them engaged in this process. What an opportunity for them to do that.
You know, Joe, so we learned on this, and we actually had collaborated with Iowa State University, their English department, to come into our manufacturing elements and talk with our students about their elevator pitch, about what they're doing and sharing it with their friends. we have agree with you. Those students are our greatest ambassadors, and they spread the word, right? And say, hey, you should get involved in this next year. And that helps grow that candidate pool.
Yeah, so great. You know, I had the opportunity to join you a few weeks ago at a signing event where you had more than a few. I mean, more than 20, I think, high school kids signing their letter of intent. Almost, it was like an athletic signing it. Their letter of an intent to go into a registered apprenticeship program with Deere and other companies. I was blown away by the excitement of young people to get a chance at this. But the level of excitement that I saw, the emotion that I saw on parents' faces, there was grandparents there, aunts and uncles. What an incredible way to start a career. You know, I could speak a little bit about the impact that you've learned that this has on a family, on a young person starting their career, knowing what they're going to do. Just the experiences that they'll gain, whether that's with John Deere or another company. I mean, that was a really very cool thing to witness.
Joe, we love the signing day events. They're emotional. You're right. We underestimate the reaction of the parents, how proud they are of the students. And the students have done a lot of great work to get them to become a candidate for these roles. So we're extremely proud of what they've done so far. And it is just the start, right? And the impact, Joe, is incredible across the state in our major manufacturing. And I'll give you one example. Abigail Parsons, who's a critical element on the Iowa governor's STEM playbook. Her quote is this: "But not for this program, I would have dropped out of high school." She is now 2 to almost 3 years as a full-time employee post internship, doing incredible, about ready to buy a house, had made a significant impact of changing her lifestyle, right, in doing everything. So we're super excited to be part of that program. And once again, it is dependent upon our community partners with the schools, those chambers, and other businesses. The more businesses that we can get engaged in these programs will equal more opportunities for students. And that's how these programs grow, through that word of mouth and examples of this. And that's the challenge that I have to other businesses is please contact your local school district or Iowa Workforce Development or myself, and we'll help you get connected to these different programs. And there's over 1,500 apprenticeable occupations. And I'm sure everyone needs IT support or some type of administrative help, et cetera, with that. That can be an opportunity for you to help support students.
So that's really step one, you'd say. You know, if you're interested in this program, contact your local school district, contact your local high school, see what those opportunities might have available.
Absolutely, right. Or the Iowa Workforce Development can help make that
Right.
connection also.
And your point on 1,500 registered apprenticeship programs, that's a lot. And in the very rare circumstance where there might not be a program that fits your needs, there's a whole team that can literally customize what you need to create a registered apprenticeship program for that specific area. So highly customizable. What a great tool that Iowa companies can take advantage of. Any other? Go ahead, David. Sorry.
Yeah, and what's favorable about these programs, the students are here.
Yeah.
They're in your backyard.
Yeah.
They're not on your employment or unemployment rates yet. And this is what these programs do, right? So they're not a workforce participant yet, but they're about to become. And how do you get them engaged earlier so the time that they turn 18 or come into those different roles that they're graduate, they're ready to enter the workforce?
Yeah, it exposes them to what the career opportunities might be for them. It helps them establish where they want to be day one post-graduation. And as companies are in a constant battle for talent, getting in early, establishing these relationships, creating that pipeline, literally hooking them in early will pay dividends down the line. So other than contacting IWD or the high school themselves, before we wrap, what's the one or two pieces of advice you would give companies assembled today on how to set up a successful, sustainable registered apprenticeship program?
So the Governor's STEM Council has put out an excellent overview document how to get this going. So read that, and that's at earnandlearniowa.gov/playbook, right? So that's an excellent tool that shows you the mechanisms to do that. My advice to you is give it a try. Start with one, start with two, start small, and then grow that.
Yeah.
Engage with your community, and you'll be amazed at what talent you're going to be able to pull from those students in the military and different folks also. And then gain the confidence and gain the internal systems on how to support this, and then grow it from there.
Right. David, great insights as always. There's a lot to be done in our state. Any final words before we let you go from today's inaugural first webcast for the Iowa Business Council? Nice job, by the way. You know, we kind of knew what we were getting with you. But nonetheless, well done. Appreciate your insights. Final words from you.
Joe, it's always a pleasure, right? Talking about this and talking with businesses to grow this. I think we have a huge opportunity to help our youth that are here today in our transition and service members. I ask all businesses to engage in these and reach out if you need any help. We got a team that's willing to help you get started.
That's great. And you can learn more about the Iowa Business Council at iowabusinesscouncil.org. Send us a note. Reach out to us if you're viewing this today. You obviously got an email from one of us today. And so we look forward to helping your businesses, your communities thrive as we look to grow Iowa's economy, as we look to grow Iowa's workforce. We all need to be working together. Partnerships are the key in this endeavor. So thank you all for your time today. David, so appreciate your time and expertise. Look forward to another session here in the near future.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks all. Thanks for joining in. We really appreciate it.